When we said this could be the best Ashes series since 2005, we really, really meant it. The first test lived up to the billing, an absolute thriller, ebbed and flowed right throughout, and it lived up to the billing. It really did. Shaba here from Crick Blog, a very happy Australia fan today. Had a couple of days to digest what was a great win alongside my co-host Nash. How are you, mate?
Good. I'll say Australia fans. Don't forget I'm supporting Australia as well.
Yeah, of course. In this
I
series,
will
that's right.
I will say I'll rightly say Cumball has won
Oh
over
no!
Bazball. Bazball. That is the first time I've used this word in my life, Bazball, because it just feels good. It
Don't
just feels
say,
good to use it at this
don't,
point.
don't say the other one.
Well, it's what everyone's reporting. It's what everyone's reporting. Um,
Oh,
And it truly was, what a performance from the captain himself. He's
yeah,
leading from the front in the
yeah,
first test match of the series.
yep.
If, he stuck it out, he came when like Australia needing like 72 runs.
Yeah,
And saw to it that he was there till the end. He hit the winning runs as
mm,
well. Super
fantastic.
performance from Australia, all throughout. They were really up there in the bowling as well in the second innings. They
Mm,
they did their best to keep Australia down in the first innings, although obviously Ben Stokes' strict declaration helped a lot.
yes, we'll talk about that.
And that's a perfect segue to our first point of the day, which you have some thoughts, I believe.
Yes, so I thought what we'd do in this episode is we'd discuss some very important talking points from the test. One of them being, right off the bat, is England's declaration. I'd be interested to get your thoughts. But for me, as an Australian fan, I was watching it at the time and I'm like, "Ooh, thank you. Thank you for declaring because you've left at least, I would have said at the time they could have got 450 the way Joe Root was going. And Ollie Robinson was looking solid as he didn't look like getting out at that point. And Australia looked a little bit worse for wear at the end of the day. Lots of running, lots of
Yep.
chasing at a fast run, with England scoring at a fast run rate. I said, thank you. Thank you for declaring. You've just done what the opposition would rather you do. And it proved crucial in the end. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it proved massive in the end, I would say, because as you pointed out, they at least left 50 runs out there with Joe Root, still the unbeaten
Yeah.
batsman playing a brilliant innings as he always does, as he's done in the past 2 years. Yeah, definitely. I think that was one of the key turning points for me as well in the test match. Um, if they would have batted again, like, England would have kept batting for another 40, 50 runs. That would have, yes, we might have ended the game in a draw, but England wouldn't have lost. And I think that's the way England are playing now. So I think England will keep playing that way. They will, keep backing their declarations, backing their odd sort of decisions at certain points, and we just have to get used to it, I suppose.
It's not necessarily would have ended in a draw because it changes the game. So, say you got 450 and England have a bigger first innings lead, they could declare sooner on the fourth day, for example. So the game changes and you adjust accordingly to what the game situation is. I mean, there's a couple of arguments for the declaration. The first one is, um, what was the first one here? I've got it. So there was the one where there's rain forecast throughout the test match, and I get that. But how many more overs would you really have taken to score another 40 or 50? Both of those two players added 43 in 7.2 overs. So they're basically going around and run a ball. Your best player is in on 118 and on a rampage. He's unstoppable. And the other reason was Usman Khawaja and David Warner leading into the test match. We all knew about the poor records that they have in England. So they thought, okay, let's have a crack at them and try to get one or two before stumps. But you're bowling on a pretty flat wicket and there's only 4 overs left. So
Yep.
I believe they had the foot on the throat a little bit and they just lifted the foot off slightly and let Australia back into the game. And just for me, it was a sense of relief to say, I'll take that. 393 versus no wicket for 14 at the end of day one on a very
Yep.
good batting surface. That's all right. We can come back from that.
Yeah, which brings us to our second point of the day was Nathan Lyon and Scott Boland. How much did they prove to be effective as batters as well? Because we saw a few comments flying here and there from the great Ollie Robinson, the dibbly dobbly bowler. Yeah, he essentially said
Oh no.
Australia have come to England with 3 number 11s, and the number 11s indeed proved to be the most effective when they wanted the winning runs and
Yeah.
couldn't get them out. So what are your thoughts on that?
Everyone in Australia has been giving it to Ollie Robinson over the past few days. I'm here to thank him.
But just let me just put it out there. It's a bit rich coming from Australians.
Yeah, look, say what you want, but when you send off a bloke who scored 140, you're gonna cop a bit for it, mate. Like when you send, look, for me, I wasn't
That's
too
fair.
fussed. I wasn't too fussed about it, and I know Australians have done it, and I'm not a big fan of it. Whoever does it, but the guy scored 140. You look like a bit of an idiot
Yeah.
when you send off a guy who scored 140, and you hadn't taken a wicket yet in the innings. Back to my point about Robinson, I'd actually thank him because I don't think Boland and Lyon would have scored those runs if Robinson didn't say it.
Absolutely.
I reckon it fired
Absolutely. It goes
him up.
back. Exactly. It goes back to that Bumrah and Shami partnership a couple of years ago when everyone got
Yeah.
onto Bumrah for bowling those bounces to Anderson, which was bizarre. But coming back to this one, it was really lovely to see Nathan Lyon play a few shots. And it wasn't like Nathan Lyon was, cautious or trying to
Oh,
be just survive. He played a few very
what
good
about that
shots. He
shot over
played
mid on?
that was brilliant. That
Yeah.
was brilliant. He played a good cover, like off drive as well.
Yeah, that off drive as well was perfect. Yeah, down the ground, incredible. He looked like a man that, yeah, he was very determined. He said, "These guys, England, look, they're playing well, but they're talking a lot. So we need to just, let the bat and ball do the talking here a little bit." Matty Hayden, I don't know if you saw his quote today. He absolutely ripped into Ollie
Yeah, I saw
Robinson.
that. I saw that.
Basically called him a cricketer that he's going to, be forgotten. He's a forgettable cricketer, and he bowls. What was he saying? 124 nude nuts. He goes, he
Yep.
bowls 124-kilometer nude nuts.
That's such a Queenslander. That's such a Queenslander's phrase from Matthew
Um,
Hayden.
Now, this might be an unpopular thing. Look, look, Ollie Robinson. I actually rate him as a bowler. I think he's got 73 wickets at 21 so far in his Test career. But as a bloke, questionable. But in terms of a bowler, people having a go at his skill set as a bowler. I go, look, if there's a pitch in this series that does a little bit, he'll be very, 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 very much a factor in that. 70 something wickets at an average of 21 is nothing to be sneezed at. So, but yeah, mate, when you send off a guy, as I said before, if you do it in the park, for example, you do it at grade cricket and you give a send off to a guy who got 140, people will be like, get yourself together, mate. Particularly I thought Robinson economically was okay in the first innings, but up until that point, he didn't bowl particularly well, I thought. Didn't threaten too much. But then as the game went on, he got better. But yeah, look, I think those comments after stumps when he said that the 3 number 11s, I think that really sparked something in the lower order. And Boland's contribution, we can't underestimate that because when he came in, Steve Smith had just got out. Australia had lost 3 quick wickets on the what was the 4th evening, and he sort of stood firm, batted a bit of time in the morning as well, put on 30 odd with Khawaja, and that was very, very important. So well done to those boys. They did very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it looks like, at least on the cricket field, New South Welshmen have got a lot going on for them. I'm sorry, I'm referring to the state of origin if you followed that, but
I certainly did, man. And look, I'm not too disappointed today because I was totally expecting it in a way. I don't know if that makes me too much of a pessimist, but yeah, it was so bad. So bad.
Anyway, coming back to cricket.
Thank goodness Australia won.
Yes, for people who did not get the reference, there's a rugby game in Australia, which is a big one between Queensland and New South Wales. But yeah,
Yep,
which New South Wales lost
comfortably as well.
comfortably, I would say.
Yes, the big time.
Anyway, coming back to cricket, I'll love to get your thoughts on the next point, which is I would love to speak about Usman Khawaja.
Yeah,
He's had his demons in England, and this time it certainly looks like he has left those demons behind. What a fabulous innings! He took his time. He pretty much tried, blocking out all the noise from the outside, and it paid dividends for him. It was a
absolutely,
brilliant
man.
innings. I'll enjoyed it thoroughly. Even in the second innings, I would say even that second innings from him, that was a major factor in Australia getting to that target.
Spot on, man. There was a bit of debate, bit of talk, who should have got the man of the match. Pat Cummins, brilliant in the second innings, of course, but if it wasn't for Khawaja's first innings 100, there wouldn't have been a match for Australia to win. There wouldn't have been a contest. We were in trouble in that first innings, and Khawaja stood firm. He played beautifully. And I was chatting with Dan from our cricket just before the start of the series, and he spoke to me about potential weaknesses for Australia. Um, and we spoke about the opening partnership, right? Warner, we know about his struggles, and Khawaja struggled as well. But what Khawaja's done the last sort of 18 months puts him in a really strong position to perform well in England and overcome his demons. And he played outstandingly well. And you're right, the second innings performance as well, like 65 at a strike rate of 32 or 33, might look like, oh, it's too slow for some people, but he held the innings together, and it was absolutely vital that he did that and gave Australia a chance. Even though he got out 72 short of the target, he gave us a chance of winning the game. So
Yeah,
massive credit to him.
absolutely. Absolutely, and I think I can't wait to see what he goes on to do in the rest of the test matches, in the next
Yeah,
four test matches, and whatever happens, it will be a really memorable tour for him. Um,
absolutely.
the next point on today's episode, which I want to get your thoughts on, I'm conscious about talking about this because it is still a bit early in the series. But Steve Smith and Marnus, they did not contribute in either of the innings. Marnus got out first ball. Australia won despite them not having done any contributions. Have England discovered a major weakness for both of those batsmen, or is it just a blip on their record for now?
Yeah, the way I look at it, and the way I looked at it after the test match is like we won an Ashes test chasing over 280, and Smith and Marnus didn't score. So I was looking at it in the positive light. But yeah, I mean, I think with Marnus, he got out identically in both innings, just playing at one just outside off stump. He didn't need to. I think he was really keen to feel bad on ball and get into the series, but when he's at his best, he's leaving the ball really well. And that's what he's probably got to focus on coming into the second test. With Smith, he squared up, and then he also played at one that he could have got closer to in the second innings. I'm not too concerned about them, particularly Smith. He's played, just scored 100 in the World Test Championship final, and he loves playing against England, and he'll bounce back. We've got total faith in him that he'll bounce back. It's just a blip. Um, but yeah, we do need them to score. We
Yeah,
do need them to score,
absolutely.
man. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And it is positive that the other batters are contributing as well. I think David Warner to some extent
He
won't
looked
isn't
okay.
as exactly, it wasn't as clueless as he was in 2019. He had a good partnership with Uzi at the top, 60 odd runs in the second innings as well. And certainly it was, I would definitely say it was a good team effort from Australia overall. This
Mm.
certainly couple of decisions from England helped. The dropped catch from Ben Stokes at the
Yeah,
end
we'll
really
touch
helped.
on some of England's decisions as well. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue into that topic. What do you make of those decisions to bring on some of the bowlers that he did at the end? Joe Root, for example, not going with Anderson when needed. When they had to win the Test match. So
Yeah.
where do you stand on those?
The turning point for me was that 83rd over of the chase. Cummins hit route for 2 6s, 14 off the over. It got the target under 50, and all of a sudden, squeaky bum time again. Australia are in with a chance, and England got to think, oh crap, they're sneaking up on us again.
Yeah.
Root did get Carey out, but Carey gave his wicket away. If I'm again, I'm looking at what would the opposition. Now, I thought Stokes' captaincy as a whole throughout the Test match, for the most part, quite good in terms of wanting to be proactive, making the best use of his resources that he possibly could. I thought England was short on resources at times, but making the best use of his resources that he could. But again, you got to ask the question, what would the opposition rather me not do? So would they rather face Joe Root, or would they rather face Anderson and Broad fading light with a brand new ball with 50 to win? I back Anderson and Broad in that situation personally.
Absolutely.
But when you bring it down to 25 to win, 20 to win, all of a sudden, a couple of shots here and there, the nerves start creeping in again. The bowlers don't quite hit their lengths. They're maybe rushing a little bit. They're a bit nervous. There's a bit more panic.
And in the end, it doesn't matter how many wickets they've got. They're still humans in the end, and the pressure does get to them.
Exactly.
So
it does.
They have to keep that in
It
mind.
does. It does.
It varies from person to person. Yes, agreed. But they're still humans, and
but you'd rather give them
well.
you'd rather give them 50 to play with than 20,
Absolutely.
25.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it just allows Cummins in particular to just get settled and get confident and start believing. So I thought, look, it was a gamble that didn't pay off. Root did get the wicket, and the pitch was conducive to turn, but he's not Nathan Lyon. He's not Nathan Lyon when it comes to spin, and the older ball wouldn't be doing as much as the newer one would. So
yeah,
big decision.
That's
Big decision.
That's exactly. They were relying on Moeen Ali, who hadn't played Test match for so long and came and bowled like 40 overs, broke his finger. I don't know how that experiment is going to go on for in this series. I don't
There
think
was the
he's going
bad
to
blister. Yeah, that's a painful one. That sort of perfect segue into the next point is England's selections. So when we talked about when we were previewing the series last week, I told you, and we agreed that England's bowling attack in that Test match looked a bit light. When you go Moeen Ali as your specialist spinner in a 4-man attack, when he hasn't bowled in Test matches, 2 years since he retired, barely bowled even in the IPL, and even in those games you get 4 overs max. So ask him to bowl in a Test match in an Ashes game.
In an
Ashes is a big ask. And look, his finger, because he's not used to the bowling, massive blister, very hard to bowl with that, very painful. And England suffered because of it. Another one is actually leaving Ben Stokes out of the team. Now, I know it's difficult to fit him in with how they want to play, but you can leave out one of the top 3, in my opinion, and just shuffle around your order and make room for Ben Stokes, because the wicket-keeping position is so important. It's like Besto. He's short on cricket, and you've asked him to come in and keep in a Test match, and it's cost you because he missed chances because he's short on cricket.
Absolutely. And I you're 100% right, because I would make room for Ben Stokes before
wherever
anyone
you
else.
can. You got to make it work.
Absolutely. And I think it does make for a great spectacle for the rest of the 4 Test matches.
Yeah.
The next one starts on 28th.
28th.
We are in for a brilliant Test series,
Mate.
probably the best in a long time.
Yeah.
I hope it's not one-sided.
No,
Australia has a leg up.
It certainly won't be. And this leads into the last point I thought we could discuss today before we finish. I've had a couple of days to digest it, but even when we hit the winning runs and we won the game, it's like we won this game. It's outstanding. We take a 1-0 lead. Now, in the 21st century, only one team has won an Ashes series from 1-0 down. That's England in 2005. Yeah. Every time, every other series, the team that wins the first Test typically goes on and wins well. But this one, there's a different feel about it. It's very even. And this first Test ebbed and flowed, and a couple of things go England's way, like the Ben Stokes catch, for example, and they can go on and win. It's that sort of match. Now, this will probably lead me into the captaincy debate about Pat Cummins. As a player, no debate. World class, one of the first picked in our team. Amazing. As a captain, I had a little bit of criticism aimed towards him. I was a bit critical of the approach in the test match. Now, for me, the approach looked like we're going to sit back here, we're going to be defensive, and we're going to wait for England to make them the stuff ups. We're going to wait for you to make the mistakes. And England throughout the test match obliged. Now, if England are smart and they've got brains about them, McCullum and Stokes, they're not idiots, they're smart guys. They can say to themselves, hang on a minute, they're willing to sit back, park the bus in football terms. Why don't we go 3, 4, 5 and over, not taking too many risks? We can take the odd risk, that's how we play, but go 3, 4 and over, rotate the strike. They're giving us easy singles, take it all day. Milk the bowling, you get 3, 4, 5 and over, you still make big scores in the game.
Look, I completely agree, not agree, but I completely understand what you're saying. I just don't think that's as long as Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes are in that top management group, I don't think that's going to happen, because that's the entire
that's all their identity, isn't it? Yeah.
That's the identity, that's the image that they have created over the past 12 months, is this is how we are going to play it, deal with it. And that's, I think, what's
you can still play
this
attacking.
Ashes series.
You can still play attacking. Absolutely.
But
it's
what
playing
I think
the
is,
percentages more, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but what I think is that's the image and the sort of this revolution that people have called it. That's what's making this
Kevin
Ashes
Peterson.
unpredictable. Yeah, unpredictable. I think. Oh, don't him. Yeah, yeah. As much as I loved him as a cricketer, he's a shit commentator. Let's just put it out there. Let's just be honest about it. I loved Ricky Ponting's savage response to him. That was absolutely brilliant.
That was funny.
Yeah, but coming back, I don't think that's going to happen. I understand what you're saying. We just have to deal with the fact that we are going to see some weird, odd, unpredictable decisions from England.
So you say it's okay to have a deep point the very first ball and just give easy singles to a top 3 for England?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying. I'm saying Australia.
I'm asking you, is that the right tactic from Australia to say, okay, if England are going to go for the big shots anyway, we may as well protect the boundaries and just let their ego get in the way, and they'll get themselves out.
Look, I think that's the thing. I think if Australia know England's plan, pretty much at this point, the entire world knows England's plan. Yeah. And if that's having, for example, a deep point from the get-go is a way to counter it.
I hated that.
I look, honestly, I don't mind it. Because if that's the way to cater this, if that's the way to counter this, what's the harm in it? Because, we have seen in the past series that if you don't have that deep point, for example, just speaking out of example, the ball is more often than not going to go to that area, because we have seen that, these England batters don't miss. They'll get those runs, one way or the other. So why not just counter that with having that deep point? I don't mind it as long as the ball is bowled to that plan, and all the 11 players that are on the field are on the same page, and the bowlers in particular.
The issue I got with it is, so a lot of the runs that England scored in that region weren't actually big shots. It's actually they're getting off strike. The late, great Shane Warne, right, what made him so great was his mindset. He said that he'd rather concede a boundary than a single. He hated giving singles away because it just didn't let him get into a rhythm. Now, I thought at the...
But is that sorry, just to argue that, sorry, just to argue that, is that because the deep point was there? They did not go for the big shots?
What do you mean, England?
Yeah. So
I mean, even
what are you saying? I get what you're saying.
Say there was a good ball bowled, right? There was a number of good deliveries bowled, but England would still be able to score off them because the fielders were back, including that deep point. An example I've got is Joe Root in the first innings. So, there's an opportunity. The best time and your best opportunity to get Joe Root out is when he's on 0. Okay, it's the case with everyone, but particularly Joe Root, their best player. You got to try get him early because we know how good he is. If you don't get him early, he'll punish you. Now, we just let him get off the mark with very easy singles through point. Now, I'd rather you try stop the single if he hits, make him hit through the gap, make him hit a good shot to get his runs. But if you're giving him easy singles, you let him get into his innings and then he's off and running and he end up getting 100. Now, my issue is that I understand putting fielders back on the boundary is okay. Okay. But you've got to at least try first to build pressure on the batsman when he's on zero, not go straight away and put fielders back on the boundary and let him get off easily. Another thing I've got is the tactic of just waiting for the mistakes from the England batsman. That's a risk because that's not always going to come off. So I'd like to see Australia just be a little bit more proactive and try be a little bit more attacking early on, at least, to try get earlier wickets. Because there's going to be some days where England, it all comes off for them and they don't make a lot of mistakes and we're in the field for a long time where we can see the big total. The law of averages suggests that if you're relying on mistakes in Test cricket, it's going to come back to bite you potentially. So that's one concern that I have. That's one reason why I believe this series is far from over and that we have to play well at Lords to keep England away.
Look, I think keeping the time in mind for today's episode.
Sorry, I've gone on a complete rant.
That's completely fine. I enjoyed that. Yeah. That was passionate.
Yeah.
I think I'm still backing Australia to win this 3-2. Pending any rain delays or any rain curtailed games. But I think I'm still backing Australia with the way they played in the first innings, the way they came back in the first Test match. Sorry.
Yep.
It was really fun to watch. It's really exciting to watch this cricket. I'm just excited. Test cricket.
Awesome. I can't wait. Back. Can't wait for next Wednesday, man. I can't wait. And it has the makings of a 2-all. That was my prediction at the start of the series, 2-2. And if the first Test is anything to go by, we're gonna get some rain, but we're also gonna get some amazing cricket. So fingers crossed Australia can do it, man. I'm really
absolutely hopeful. And we'll be here talking about it after the second Test match again, and look forward to a positive result in Australia's favor.
Hope so. Thanks everyone for listening and also watching on YouTube. You can follow us on @CrickBlogPod on Instagram and Twitter. So do check us out there. Thanks, Nash. Have a good one, mate.
Thank you, Charbel.